Welcome back to Freedom Algo. I'm going to show you the winning trade setups today on the ES futures market. You can see that we had a big range today that had a possible breakout that was a failure, broke back into the range, and now we have this wider channel that is actually making new highs on the day. So we'll see what it does. It looks like we're coming up into where we were yesterday, where we found some possible choppiness before that other move down. So it makes sense to me that we're kind of getting up there now. And you can see this channel top working. We're kind of bouncing off this. Now we might end up going higher here, and this might actually be a wider channel. Or this could even be a channel that kind of starts down here, and maybe this is actually a wider channel. So I'm going to draw this as a possibility just so that as we get into the video, we can kind of keep track of it. Sometimes you have, because this was a skinny channel that broke and had a new high, but it's possible that we have a wider channel in there. So I'm actually going to draw that on there just as a possibility, and we'll get into the video and we will come back to it. So there wasn't a ton of volume today in a lot of these moves, so it was kind of a wild day because of the way the price action played out. I mean, this morning when we came in, I had this range working, and originally I had it drawn here. So I had the lows there, highs here, and we were in this range, and we did get a possible short setup here. And basically you had these trends that played out, short-term trend lines where you had this down one that didn't make a new low, but then you had this higher one or up trend that did make a new high there. You had this down channel working. So after you had this down channel working right here, the way I saw this was there was a pullback, close outside, and a first entry, and then it pulled back again, and it was a second entry long that failed. So one tick below this bar would have been your entry, and you're really just trying to get a new low there. So you were just trying to get a scalp. It ended up going down further and went down to the close right here, and that was right before the market opened. And I liked that because you knew yesterday's close was down here, so we're probably going to come down and tag that right near market open when we're that close to it. So I liked that trade. I thought that was a good setup. And then, and I'm going to leave this here right now so I can show how this all played out. So then you came up here and had another down channel working. It's kind of like two big legs down. But I kind of saw this as a possible wider channel in play. And so I drew the wider channel because at this point you had a touch here, 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 and then there, and then over here. So at this point you've confirmed you've got a wider down channel. Now you're coming down to the range lows, but you know that there's this big stem over here and big stem over here. So you're thinking, okay, even though this is the possible range low, we might go further. So you have to be aware of failed breakouts. But the way I saw this one was we had this high here. Then we came down, and this one is a more advanced trade. But what we had here was a new high. First entry, long, pullback, second entry long that failed. And the reason it's marked green is because it's off the key entry point, and there's a lot of reasons to like it, but it's just because it's kind of an inside bar that you're entering on. So it could turn into consolidation. You got to be careful there. But I liked it because it was rejecting off of the range there, so it could be a breakout pullback short, and you could end up getting a further swing beyond this low here. You could end up getting further swings down, channels in play. This white line here was yesterday's low, so you're thinking, hey, maybe we come down and tag that area. And it ends up not going quite that far, but you do get an easy trade out of it. And then it pulls back, it rejects again. I didn't want to take anything here because it's just too far down at this point. And this is a pretty bullish candle, barely tick below it and reject. So there's just not really anything there for me after that point that is worth the risk. All right, so then at this point, I did eventually lower this. So I eventually, after this price action played out, I lowered this to those closes there, and it fit really nice because of these touches over here. So we had this up channel that works. It breaks out of this, and instead of making a new low, we actually make a triple test. So that low, and that low are all the same. So we don't make a new low on this channel, but we reject two more times at the lows. So we get a triple test, but you don't get a good signal bar. If this was a bullish bar here, this one was a tempting, but it was just a doji, and it was only a double bottom. But if this triple test gave me a really bullish bar there, I would have tried to scalp that back to the EMA, but it just didn't happen. So, and it would have been worth the risk because it's only a 6 tick bar. So if this closed as like a green candle that looked kind of like this one over here, then I would have taken a quick little long scalp there, but it just didn't work out that way. So then you can kind of wait for the higher low. You do get one here, but the reason I didn't like this at this point is it's starting to look a little bit sideways to me, a little congested. I wasn't a big fan. Again, I was looking for, do we get a higher low that maybe closes above the EMA, something really bullish? Then maybe I take it, but we just didn't get that. And I'm glad I didn't take it because you would have been stuck sideways here, and it was congestion that did form. Eventually, it broke higher, but you would have had to sit through this, and this one could easily wick lower, stop you out, and then reverse. So it's good that I didn't enter there. Then you had this tight up channel working, and so it starts to go up. I drew a wider channel eventually, but at first you had a tight up channel working. You get a break here, and you do get a second entry long. The only reason this one's green is that it's pretty sideways right there. So yeah, you do get a pullback first entry, pullback second entry above this bar. But at this point, you didn't have this key entry point yet. I drew this one after like further on after this kind of closed over here. And you weren't back to the EMA, and it's just a little sideways. So, you could end up getting stuck there, and it could easily bounce around sideways and wick you out. So that's why I marked that one green. You are expecting a new high. It did tap the channel top, but you're expecting a new high on that sharp of an uptrend, and you're expecting it to probably go up, at least test some of these highs over here. So that's what I was looking for. It ends up going much further. So you don't know that, of course, and you did have to sit through a little congestion right there before it actually went where you wanted it to. I think you actually get out on this scalp here if you went for 4 ticks like I was today, but you don't get a runner on that because it comes back. All right, so then this turns into another short-term up channel that breaks. It doesn't give you a new high here, but you do get a decent trade setup here. Now, this one is a little bit more advanced as well, and that's why all these have been green, because these are all more advanced, and they're not perfect setups. So now you do have this channel in play, and I drew it off this close. Like I originally had it off this close right here, and then I just moved it over a little bit to that close. And the reason this is marked is because what you actually have here is a low right here, and then it comes up, and it gives you a first entry short, pullback. Below this red bar is a second entry short. So right now you're waiting, and 1 tick below this red bar is a second entry short. So what I did was I set up there, and the reason I at first I wasn't going to take this because I saw the channel, and I was like, oh, I don't want to take a short through the channel because I was thinking, hey, we're far away from the EMA. We got the break of this to a new high up here, and this could just be a lower high. So originally I set one up here, and what ended up happening was I thought we were going to rock it down on the lower high there, and that it was going to trap all these longs up here. Because now I was thinking, all right, well, this is probably a failed breakout. What ends up happening instead is that it goes a little sideways, and it doesn't actually trigger you into the trade until this big red candle. So it works out the way that you wanted, but it actually traps people first. So what you actually get is a first entry pullback, second entry long that actually fails as well. So it's kind of an inside bar, second entry long, but it still is 2 swings. Pullback, first entry, pullback, second entry long. Traps all these longs up here, and then it rockets down. So I didn't move my stop up here to try to catch this. I left my sell stop order. I still left it 1 tick below this because I wanted to see it trigger there, and then right here after this candle, it then triggered on this candle. So that was a nice trade. A little more advanced again. If it took off right away, it would have been different. And so this channel, because originally this channel, I thought it was I thought that it wasn't really gonna be in play. But because it was in play right there, I needed to just kind of respect that. Maybe that was the lower high though, and it doesn't actually give you a new high. So anyway, turns into this down channel working. Not really any entries in there, unfortunately. There was a possibility here where let me zoom over and talk about these trades over here. So basically what you end up with right here, which I did actually like, was I saw this kind of all as a high, because you kind of, you could look at this as, yeah, the high is up here and the first entry, second entry played out. But I actually looked at this almost like double top area, sort of new high, and I saw this as a pullback first entry short, pullback second entry short that failed with a trap. So this was a typically on the engulfing bar. You don't want to enter an engulfing bar trade unless the candle is solid. There's a wick here, so that's why this one is green. It's not a perfect setup, but basically this one gives you a perfect 4-tick trade. And so the way it worked was right here, you need 1.5 points because you're entering 1 tick below this bar. So that gets you in there. And then you need it to tick through your order, which it does on this last trade here. So this ends up being just a quick little 4-tick scalp. And it works. And I was in that trade. So what I did there was, as it came up, I put my stop 1 tick below this as, hey, this is probably going to be a failed second entry long. And to give us a new low on this channel. It ends up not giving us a new low, though. What ends up happening is it ticks up once, traps all these longs, and then immediately goes down. It ends up tapping the 4 ticks, so you might have gotten filled here, or it might have went against you. What it did for when I was in this trade, it actually didn't fill there. It came up, and then I was like, well, maybe I was actually wrong on this one. But I sat in the trade. I was patient. It then came over, and then it pushed down, and it tapped it again. Still didn't fill me. Came up. Then this one opened, filled me, filled my 4-tick order, and then it reversed. So it was actually a really nice trade setup. And some people might have actually went long here, and I wouldn't be mad at anybody if they did. I just didn't do it because of the way, because I was in a short. So I'm actually going to mark that because really you could look at that as the new high, first entry, second entry, higher low. You could look at it as a higher low because basically it wasn't going to make a new low there. And it trapped all the shorts that tried to pile on right here. They all got trapped. They went 1 tick in their favor and it immediately ran all their stops. And that's why that ran up so fast like that. But what is cool about this trade is right after this happens, you have a short-term uptrend, close outside in a new high, another swing to a new high, and it's a second entry short. Because from these lows, you could see this as sort of like a double bottom, and then you got first entry, second entry short, right off of the range high. Really easy setup there. It was hard to get into this one because it kind of just opens right there and then moves. But I got into it fast enough and was able to kind of ride that one, get a quick little scalp out of that. And I was really originally thinking this was going to actually give us the new low, but it ends up not happening. And that's when I started to lean a little bit more bullish because at this point, you're starting to make higher lows and higher highs. And so you had to lean a little more bullish and think there could be an up channel working, some sort of up channel. And so anyway, that's how I was looking at this. And so then you don't really get any setups here. And you do eventually come down. You have this down channel working, close outside, new low, right off of the range here. I lowered, not range, right off of this channel. I had to lower the channel to make it fit here because maybe the channel was a little wider. So I did. And then you end up with this short-term uptrend that closes outside here. And the reason this is marked with the green is that this is actually a first entry, second entry short that fails here. And the reason I like that one is it's a failure, and I'm expecting it to just at least come up and tap this high, give us a new high on this short-term up channel. Also, you're far enough away from these highs over here, and you still haven't made a high from over here when you broke that channel. So I liked that trade, and I was in that one as well. And then up here, because originally I was going to be done trading, but I came back to record the video a little while ago, and anyway, I saw this setup. So then next, I drew this wider channel as a possibility when we started this video, and it does look like there's a possible. I just always got to move on. Something more like this. A possible channel there. I don't know. It looks like it's going to break here anyway, so hard to say if that's really a channel. This one, this could be an overshoot, by the way. This could just be an overshoot, or this could be a really wide channel. But I don't know. It's hard to say. That could easily be an overshoot. The midline does fit still on the bigger channel there, so maybe that's valid. I'm going to leave it. Not sure yet. But anyway, here, this one I like as a possible trap. It's a first entry and pullback, second entry, all in the same candle, entering on the engulfing bar. It ticks 1 tick below. You have your order 1 tick above this red bar. It fills you in right here, pulls back, and then goes up. And this one I like, even though it's close to the high, the reason I like this is you're trying to get to you're trying to get to this high over here, and you end up getting it right there. So then now we're coming up. Now there's a possible setup here, a first entry pullback, possible second entry long setting up, but it's hard to know for sure if it's going to play out. Basically, here you got congestion because of this doji. Unless this pulls back, maybe taps the EMA and gives you a bullish bar, and then maybe you have a setup. But again, this could have been an overshoot, so you wouldn't want to take it. So this, if this does end up setting up a second entry long, then this could really be an overshoot that is really more of like a, probably a sketch trade. So I wouldn't be looking to necessarily take it there. It's going to start to, yeah, so right here, this is going to end up giving you some sort of an inside bar style second entry. So I would stay away from this. Possible this trend line this channel is playing out, but I don't usually, I don't take trades at this time of the day anyway. I'm already done for the day. Now, the other thing is, I didn't do this till now, but I'm going to show this. This is a measured move, by the way, from the original range. So that's what this is up here, and we're almost there. Uh, so one thing I did want to call out, though, is that when it started to become bullish like this, you do have to consider that it is a possibility that the range high is maybe higher up. Maybe it's something like, maybe this is the actual range, something like this. Um, Maybe it's even these highs. Maybe this is actually the top of the range. Probably not. Doesn't really fit very well right there. But it does fit pretty decently, like right in this zone. You've kind of got those levels tapping. You got these highs. So that's possibly the range, and then this could give you some sort of a failed breakout. Hard to say for sure. I'm going to leave it where it was just to see how it plays out because I like that. I like having the measured move there to see if we do end up getting the measured move. So you do have a second entry here, but not a good signal bar right here from this red. And I mean, you could argue that this is a pullback and this is the second entry triggering above this, but I don't really like that setup. It's kind of a second entry that's a higher low all at the same time, but still, it's just too risky for me. You're already right near the highs. You don't have a lot of space there, so I'm going to stay away. But I just wanted to kind of show how I saw it today. All of these were good trades, but there's not very many that were they were all pretty risky just because of the way the price action was. And something else I'll call out real quick. I'm done here, but I just want to show this. If you look at the actual volume on the 2000 tick chart, it opened here in the overnight. There just isn't a lot of bars. So this is all a lot of thin volume that's pushing this up. If you scroll back to yesterday during this time frame, I'm going to keep the zoom the same. There's just a lot more price action yesterday. I mean, it was like all the way up here. There's just all this extra price action. There's just way more volume yesterday than what we're seeing today. This is just really thin volume for what time of day it is. And on the daily chart, I did draw out some stuff. I have this possible up channel working, and then there's a wider channel. And it makes sense to me that we'd consolidate a little bit, have a smaller day. We're probably going to need to come back and tap this trend line or tap the EMA before we move up. So that's how I see it today. And I'll see you tomorrow.